Disappointing end of the year by the Warriors. Not completely shocking, but disappointing nonetheless. You lose to the Lakers in 6. Jordan Poole becomes largely a non-factor, and it feels like the discontent between the veterans and the young guys really boiled over and came to a head in the postseason, centered mainly around Jordan Poole. So what do you do?
He's really talented. You're talking about a guy who's averaged 20 a game in the NBA. So they dramatically overpaid him. So it's going to be hard to move him. I would move him. I don't care if it would be hard to move him. I'm not a Jordan Poole guy. Why? Because Jordan Poole sees himself as a Steph Curry, and he's not Steph Curry. He's shot 25% from 3 in the playoffs, I believe, and he shot around 30% from 3 in the regular season. And he takes these heat check threes like he's Steph Curry, and he's not Steph Curry. And his game is best when he's on a team that doesn't have a lot of dribble penetration, and they need him to dribble penetrate, get in the lane, go to the line, and match what he did a couple years ago at 95% or 94% or whatever. And he shows no interest in doing that. I mean, you just want to say Karl Anthony Towns is soft. Jordan Poole's softer. So, I mean, Jordan Poole doesn't want to have contact. So, personally, I'm not a Jordan Poole fan. If Jordan Poole would understand who he is and play to his strengths, that would be a good place to start. But it seems like he needs to take it off the dribble and go to the lane. But there's two problems. He doesn't want the contact, and he's got a horrendous reputation with the refs. And so what does he do? He's just pouting all the time. He's just pouting about calls that he didn't get. He's stopping playing in the middle of the game. He's got value because he can go for 20 a game, but I'd rather move him on and change up the dynamic. And I don't know that you can really make big changes to this roster and keep him. So
I don't think you can unless you move off of Draymond Green. So what I'm hearing you say,
I'm not doing that.
Yeah, so you're interested in running it back with the core veterans, the core 3, Steph, Clay, and Draymond, Kevon, GP2, and Andrew Wiggins as your core 6, and then anybody else is up for grabs in terms of what you might be able to get? Because this is what I've said, Larry. I think that if you want to really, quote, run it back, you need to get better. And I think to get better, you need to get more veteran because Steve Kerr has shown somewhat of a reluctance to take a chance and play younger players. They don't want to experiment with Ryan Rollins and Patrick Baldwin Jr. And, James Wiseman had a fairly short leash this year in terms of being out there and being able to learn on the fly. Even Jonathan Kuminga, when you got to the playoffs, Jonathan Kuminga was no longer really playable. So I look at a team, and this kind of leads into what to do with the 19th pick in the NBA draft. I think the Warriors should look to get as many veterans as they can now in order to try one last time to win a championship before Steph, Clay, and Dre all move on.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think you're going to have to add some veterans to your bench, but I don't necessarily think Kerr, I know, gets that moniker of he can't play young guys. Well, go look around the NBA. Who's kicking butt with what the Warriors had? The Warriors had like 6 guys on opening night that were 22 or younger.
Right.
You can't win in sports when you have guys that are too old or too young, and you need guys in their prime. So I do agree that they need to go in the free agent market and get some guys who aren't old but aren't babies and aren't young and are ready to play their best basketball. I'd love to see Seth Curry here. I think that one makes sense. I would definitely try to bring in some free agents, but their situation, the luxury tax line is what, 162. That's the tax apron is like 179. If they keep Draymond and they keep the pick, I don't know that they're gonna be able to do a ton in free agency. The mid-level might not be at their disposal, right?
Exactly. They're going to be well over the tax, and if they keep everybody, and that includes if Dante DiVincenzo was to opt in, which he's not going to do, you'd be looking at a total payroll and tax bill of about $460 million. And Joe Lacob has said, we're not doing that much again.
Yeah, but
paraphrase.
But and so what do you do? I personally think that there are no shortcuts in the NBA. They're not going to be able to go get free agents necessarily that alone and somehow keep this thing rolling. They're going to have to do it the way they did it, which is they found Steph Curry and they found Klay Thompson and they found Draymond Green. And what are those guys? Those are skilled players. I mean, Draymond's a skilled passer and rebounder and shot blocker. He's not a scorer, but the other guys were skilled players. Jordan Poole was the same thing, that were overlooked for different reasons. And I think they need to do exactly that. And there's options in this draft at 19.
But even if you try to do that, Larry, you're not going to find a player who can be ready to contribute now. And that's where
I don't
even
know
if you
that
look
that's
at
for sure.
Well, you look at Draymond, Steph, and Klay themselves. None of them in their rookie year or even their second year was that ready-made to come in and contribute to a winning culture. It's not the way it happens.
But I mean, to me, that you're not. I don't see them winning a title doing it any other way than the way they did it originally. And I think they're uniquely positioned here because there are some young players that have skill that aren't necessarily as raw as Jonathan Kuminga or as James Wiseman. The Belmont kid, Ben Shepherd, who lit it up in Chicago. This guy's got a beautiful shot.
At the pre-draft camp you're talking about?
At the pre-draft camp. He's a 6'6" 2 guard. They think he's going to go around, maybe top of the second round.
How old is he?
They're all going to be relatively young because they're college kids. But I like his game. I mean,
I'd
he's
be more
refined.
interested in a 22 or 23-year-old as opposed to a 19-year-old.
I think he is 22. 21. Okay, but I mean, this guy is really a polished player. I really like Shepherd quite a bit. There's a big man in this draft that's projected right now to go in the second round named Tristan Vukovic, who's a Serbian-born kid who grew up in Italy, played for Real Madrid. He's 6'11", and if you saw him in the Chicago camp, draining threes, but he's not just draining threes. I mean, he's putting the ball on the deck, top of the key, moving to the elbow, rising up, and it's just buttery. I mean, it's like a. I'm not saying it's Klay Thompson, but it's a beautiful shot. Vukovic, they say, is round 2. That means he'll definitely be there on the board at 19. There's no way I'm passing him. I mean, he is an incredibly skilled big that would be a great compliment to Draymond Green because he's your stretch 5, while Green's or stretch 4, and Green's your inside guy. Jordan Hawkins, the UConn 2 guard, very polished player. UConn won it all this year. This guy is one of the best pure shooters in the entire country. Very experienced player. Love him. Dale Davis's kid, Trace Jackson Davis, who played at Indiana, not a shooter. He's more of a 5, but he's a shot blocker. He's an athlete. He's a rebounder. Averaged 20 and 10 this year. Really, really nice player. I think he's available to them. Leonard Miller, who played in the G League this year. Last year he went to Chicago. He was like a fish out of water. This year, after a year with the G League Ignite team, you're talking about a guy who's 6'10", and there's a little KG in this guy. I mean, he's got handle. We're talking about 6'10", super skilled, very fluid, can get his shot all over the place. He's nice. I mean, he's raw. He's young. He's one of those guys you're going to have patience with. But I really like him. Amari Bailey.
Yeah, you still haven't hit on the guy that I would love to see them take, but keep going.
Well, I got a couple more here. Amari Bailey from UCLA is a super, super tough kid from UCLA, combo guard, but I think he hit that big shot against the Zags. Zags got the shot that beat UCLA in whatever it was, the Elite 8 or Sweet 16. But Bailey, before the Zags hit that shot, Bailey hit the big dagger shot to put UCLA up. I think Bailey would be a really intriguing player. Super tough, Chicago kid, 6'5", long arms, very productive. His game developed this year for the Bruins. He's really nice. The guy that I really like that my buddy Bill Duffy reps is Brandon Podziemski for Santa Clara. This kid transferred. I think he played for the Illini. I think he transferred to Santa Clara. All WCC this year. 6'5" combo guard, 39-inch vert. Went to Chicago. Looked really, really good in the Chicago pre-draft camp. Is he a point guard? Is he a 2 guard? I mean, he's nice. That's what he is. So, I mean, I like those guys. I mean, we're talking about Vukovic, Hawkins, Jackson Davis, Bailey, Leonard Miller, Podziemski, Shepherd. You got 7 or 8 guys there that have skill, but I think could come in and actually play a role in a rotation. And I don't think you can just draw a line through the entire draft and say, oh, Kerr doesn't play young players. That's it. Boom. Moving on. If you take the draft out and you're going to have all these new CBA rules that prevent you from getting players here and there, how the heck are you plan on
via
getting
trade,
better?
Larry? And that's what I'm advocating. I'm advocating a trade.
Be a hell of a trade, man. Be a hell of a trade. Then.
Well, and that's the kind of trade that you're going to be looking at. And
I haven't seen any trades out there that I thought were like, wow, like this team is
you
not.
trade with Toronto. And
Okay,
you
OG
trade.
Anunoby is a nice player, but
And
you're
you
not.
get Chris Boucher as well. Boucher's a
All right,
30-year-old.
all right. They had
He's
him.
a veteran. Well, they kind of had him. They had him when he had a torn ACL. I don't think he ever played for the Golden State Warriors. He played in Santa
He's
Cruz.
skilled.
and
I like Boucher, but
he's skilled. He's 30 years old. He's a Duck, which we love. Thank you, Mark Grandy. I see you back there clapping, which is
Good
how
eyes.
I always remember that somebody went to Oregon. You mentioned Diamador Lenore earlier, and the guy was in there doing victory laps because he went to Oregon, I'm told. I didn't even have to look at the roster. He went to Oregon, so
Grandy's a big Duck.
any Duck gets an ovation from the Grandy man behind the glass. But I would make that trade, Poole, Kuminga, and the 19th pick overall for Boucher and OG Anunoby. Anunoby's got one more year of team control. Boucher's got 2 remaining. So you come into this year with a more veteran team and a deeper team. And I also, money-wise, it absolutely works. And you might actually save a little bit of money in terms of the luxury tax because I think Boucher and Anunoby make less than what Poole will make and what Kuminga makes.
I'm not in a rush to give up on Kuminga. Kuminga's got
I'm not in a rush to give up on Kuminga either,
he's got
Larry.
a
But
ton of upside. I mean, you're going to regret that.
When do you think Kuminga will be able to be the kind of player that can help you win a championship? Because I don't think it happens within the next 3 years.
I mean, he's just. I mean, you're going to.
He's too raw.
You're going to look really bad if you trade Jonathan Kuminga. If
Are you going to look bad when you trade James Wiseman?
Potentially.
Yeah,
potentially.
I don't think you're going to look bad at that one at all.
Well, I don't know. I mean, James Wiseman's a gigantic marshmallow. I mean, I think he's kind of proven that. I think Jonathan Kuminga is much more than that. I didn't love the way they handled Kuminga. I didn't love the way they just, they decided that he just was a non-factor. This guy was going 30 minutes a game in a key stretch down the stretch of the regular season, and all of a sudden he doesn't look good early in the playoffs, and you just banish him. I didn't love that move.
888-957-9570. What should the Warriors do? Should they trade for veterans, or should they use the 19th pick to take one of Larry's guys?
Well,
I'll tell you,
look at it this
the guy
way,
that I
Dibs.
like, Larry, at 19 is the kid out of Duke, Derek Lively.
Yeah,
I know he's
nice.
another big, he's another young big, but this kid's got more experience. He's got more versatility, more toughness than James Wiseman. He played in a big-time conference. He's been mocked in the top 15, the top 20. He might be available to the Golden State Warriors.
I don't think so. I doubt it, man. I doubt
You don't think he'll be available?
No. I think he's going late lottery. I mean,
Which is what, 14?
12, 14, 13, something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
I mean, I think he's gone. I mean, they pick at 19, right? So
Right.
I think he's gone. I mean, the kid from Marquette, who's from Canada, Olivier Maxime Prosper, 6'8", 230, combo forward, super athletic, can run the floor. I really like him as well. I don't know. This is the thing. You're going to have to. How did you build this team? You built this team with skilled players that got overlooked. Steph was too weak. Clay was, whatever Clay was. I mean, Kings took Jimmer Fredette 1 pick higher. Draymond fell to 35 in round 2. That's how you built this team.
But you built it that way over time, and you don't have time now. So if you want to build this team, the team's already built in terms of Steph, Clay, and Dre, Wiggins, and Looney, and GP2. So to me, you're just looking to add ready-made players. And none of those names that you rattled off are guys that you would look at and say, yep, rotation next year for sure.
Well, yeah.
But I think that's what they need.
What about Chris Murray? Keegan's brother, the twin brother out of Iowa, he's polished. A lot of people think Jaime Jaquez is a polished player. I just think when you're talking about those kinds of guys, you're talking about limited upside. I'd rather swing for the fences. I don't like singles. I like home runs, and when I'm watching that kid Vukovic, there's no doubt in my mind that he can play in an NBA game right now. I mean, he is nice. I mean, you're talking about a guy that has a little bit of Dirk. He's got the face-up game of a KD. I mean, you're talking about a 6'11" guy who shoots it really high. You can get a hand in his face. His shot is so pure. He looked awesome in Chicago. So there's no way he's going mid-second round.